Hi, Simon here from Be Sober, and I wanted to share another tactic that really helped me when it came to dealing with overwhelming thoughts, uncomfortable feelings, and those things perhaps just that irritate you, that build up into just really taking over and often can be the trigger that leads to you drinking, perhaps later in the day. I was actually speaking to somebody last week who had lots of minor irritations going on throughout the course of the day. Traffic while she was stuck in the car, queues in the local store, people being rude to her in the coffee shop, and it just built up and built up. And by the time she got home, she just felt overwhelmed by these thoughts and had a really strong urge to drink. And I feel that if we can get to grips with those things, perhaps when they begin to feel like they're becoming too much or becoming overwhelming, we can take a bit of control in this. And equally, sometimes we have thoughts about something that's really challenging, really tough to deal with, and difficult for us. And again, this particular tactic that I'm going to share today is awesome for dealing with that kind of thing. So this tactic's all about an elephant. Now, I know it sounds a bit weird and you do need a little bit of imagination with it, but once you get used to using it and you feel how it can massively evaporate the power of those uncomfortable thoughts, you're going to love the elephant. So the first thing, and this works across the board with uncomfortable thoughts and difficult feelings, you've got to install a fire alarm in your head. And again, it sounds a bit wacky, but what you need to do is when you have difficult thoughts, difficult feelings, and it could be a craving for alcohol, it could be difficult thoughts about anything, something that winds you up, something that just presses your buttons, or something bigger, something really challenging. You need to become mindful of this. I started to become really aware when I was having these thoughts that I knew weren't going to serve me. So I installed a fire alarm in my head, a virtual fire alarm. And what I did is every time I had one of these thoughts, that was my fire alarm ringing very loudly in my head. And of course, there's not really a fire alarm, you just have to imagine that. But when you have the thought, see it like a fire alarm going off. When the fire alarm goes off, that's your opportunity to just take a moment, to take a breath and to pause, not to run away and act on the thought or react to the feeling. You've got this opportunity. You can now pause and then you can make a choice. And it's important to remember we can make a choice with almost everything that we do. We have choices. So you don't have to act. You don't have to suddenly latch on to this thought, to react to that feeling. You can make a choice. That sounds easy to say, and probably thinking, well, that's going to be really tough to do, Simon. But actually, it's not as tough because the choice you can make is to take a moment and to deploy one of your tactics that you know can take away the power of the thoughts or feelings. And I've got quite a few of these tactics and I'm excited to share them with you. But I wanted to just share this particular one today. I don't want to overwhelm you with a massive video with 20 different tactics. I'm going to do short videos for each one. There are some in previous videos that I've done as well. Now, the most important thing when you have an uncomfortable thought, challenging feelings coming up, is not to try and suppress them. Don't try and push them away. We need to face them, look at them straight in the eye, and that's the best way to deal with them. When you start trying to push them away, inevitably they come back stronger, bigger, more powerful, and they're just going to keep on coming back all the time you try not to think about them and just pretend they're not there. It doesn't work. You're far better to acknowledge them. And that's where this elephant comes in. So what you do is, ideally, if you can, do this when you're sat somewhere comfortably and quiet. And ideally, if you can shut your eyes as well, it works great. I mean, if you're pretty good with your imagination, you can do it with your eyes open, but you really want to be sat in a place where it's relatively still and relatively quiet. And then all you want to do is ideally close your eyes and you're going to visualize yourself sat perhaps in your living room or your kitchen, somewhere where you feel comfortable and relaxed. And just spend a moment now as you do that and breathe slowly in through your nose as you breathe, almost try and watch the breath come up your nose. So don't think about anything else. Just focus totally on the breath coming up your nose. Breathe, and you don't want to, when you breathe, kind of snatch at the breath. Just breathe naturally, just gently and slowly. It might be a long breath, a short breath, medium length breath, whatever it may be. Don't try and exaggerate it or do anything different. Just breathe in through your nose slowly. I said slowly when I told you not to do it slowly. I normally do it slowly, but just breathe in naturally and then focus only on the breath. And then again, back out through your nose. And repeat that several times until you feel like you really are now focused on your breath. You're not thinking about anything else. You're really watching that breath and you're focused, laser focused on it. Once you get to that point, in your mind's eye, and again, you need your imagination to do this, I want you to see yourself sat in that comfortable room, which is perhaps feels like a safe space for you in your house, bedroom, study, living room, kitchen, whatever it may be. And I want you to visualize you're sat there completely relaxed and suddenly this enormous elephant comes walking into the room, and this thing stinks and it's making loads of noise, it's knocking things over as it walks, and it's just unbelievable the damage and destruction that this elephant is causing. It walks in and it's taking up most of the room, and it stands there and it's not moving, it's just refusing, it's sticking there and it's not budging. So what you need to do then is recognize that this elephant is your uncomfortable thought or your difficult feelings that you've got going on, and they ain't going anywhere. You can't push them out, you can't suppress them, you can't hide them. They are here to stay. If you push it out, it'll probably come back with its elephant friend. So you really don't want to do that. Instead, what you want to do is give the elephant a name. We're going to make it personal. So you can call it whatever you want to call it. I know in some of the alcohol experiment groups, we give the name Dave to the wine witch, the drinking chatter that goes on inside our head. So for the purposes of this, let's call the elephant Dave. And as Dave comes into the room, you're going to kind of, in your mind's eye, pay attention to the detail. Really try and visualize this elephant. What has it got? Tusks? What does it look like? Is the skin grainy, dirty? Feel the sensations, the warmth coming off of it, the smell, the noise it's making. Really try and picture it. The more you can visualize it and picture it, the better this is going to be for you. And then once you've accepted that this elephant is just too big to push out of the room, visualize yourself looking it in the eye. Just look straight at the elephant in the eye. This elephant is your thoughts, your uncomfortable feelings. You look at the elephant, and then when I do this, I actually say this out loud, which can be kind of ridiculous if people can hear you. So like I said, it's best done somewhere quiet, in a place perhaps on your own with the door shut. And I would say to the elephant, using the name that I've given it, "Hey Dave, I wondered when you were going to show up. I knew you'd come along today." And basically just acknowledge it. Maybe even say to it, "How are you today?" Something like that. And this is all in your imagination. You can say it out loud. You can just use the voice in your head to have that conversation if you want. And by doing this, you're acknowledging that those feelings and thoughts are there. You're not hiding from them. You're looking them straight in the eye. And then what you want to do is say to Dave the elephant, or whatever you decide to call this elephant, "I'm not coming on a ride with you today. I'm not playing games today. I'm not interested." Calmly and coolly, not aggressively. And you say this and you sit, and you just sit calmly, continuing to watch your breath coming up and down your nose, feeling relaxed, focused, with this scene in your mind's eye. And what happens, there's a few things that can happen actually. You can leave it there if you want once you feel relaxed and gently open your eyes and continue. You will find that the thoughts and feelings should have significantly diminished and lost their power. But what I like to do is actually continue to breathe and stay in that sort of state of visualization until the elephant gets bored and walks off of its own accord. Because to me, that represents those thoughts and feelings having passed and moving on. Alternatively, you could, in your visualization yourself, feel like that you've looked the thoughts and feelings in the eye, and you could get up and leave the room in your visualization. Don't get up and leave the room with your eyes shut, or you'll walk into the door like I did when I was doing a video and smash your head, and I've still got a scar right now, so you don't want one of those. But you could visualize yourself leaving the room. And that is also an option. But for me, it works best when you kind of sit and just sit with the elephant, effectively sitting with your thoughts and sitting with your feelings until it gets bored and it walks off. And then when you feel ready, you can open your eyes and you will find that the thoughts and feelings will have lost their power. They will have faded and you'll feel like they've passed, almost like a cloud in the sky that's moved across and moved away. And it is such an awesome tactic. So just to recap, because this works so well, and I would love some of you to try it and maybe leave some comments either here or in the Facebook group telling me how you got on with it. To recap, please install a fire alarm in your head so that you're mindful and aware when you start having these uncomfortable thoughts. So many people just accept them for what they are, react to them, take action just instantly based on these thoughts and feelings, instead of them having a fire alarm and giving themselves a moment to pause. I mean, you may pause and your decision may be, I'm going to go with the thought. Well, at least you paused. It may not be the best decision, but at least you were mindful and at least you paused and made a choice. But if you've got tactics up your sleeve, such as the elephant tactic, you can deploy that. You can take a moment, you can reduce the power, you can fade these thoughts and these feelings down to practically nothing, probably in the space of a few minutes, just by sitting, ideally with your eyes shut. Once again, visualize, elephant comes into the room, you're going to give it a name, you're going to look it in the eye, you're going to greet the elephant, maybe say something like, I wondered when you were going to show up today, I was expecting you, and then you're going to tell it firmly but nicely that you're not interested in going on a ride today, or you're not interested in playing games today. And then, as I say, sit, perhaps wait, and no doubt the elephant will get bored and will wander off and bother somebody else. So try it. It sounds a little bit wacky, but I just want to share as many of the tactics that I use in my coaching that I know work for other people, and tactics that I've used myself. I've had lots and lots of difficult feelings, challenging emotions to deal with over the years, particularly when it came to quitting drinking. And these served me so well, which is why I share them, because I want other people to use them and to feel the power, and to harness the power of them when it comes to being able to manage these things that can actually be the lead up to what ends up making us want to take a drink. And if we can eradicate that, then often those feelings, perhaps in the evening or late in the afternoon when we might have taken a drink, just aren't there, because we're feeling more relaxed, happy, calm, and in a really great place. And things like this, I've mentioned meditation before, but God, it works so well for me. I use the Calm app, CALM. There's the Headspace app as well, and there's a bunch of others also, but some of the guided meditations are just fantastic, and they can be equally as powerful. But the elephant tactic is so good because it's specific to facing your thoughts and feelings rather than pushing them away. You're acknowledging them, and there is so much power in acknowledging that those feelings are there but not reacting to them, just facing them, looking them in the eye. And like I say, try it. I will keep sharing tactics because there's plenty more, and I really hope this one works for you.